This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good yawning this morning. Did you know it is Tuesday, the 20th of April, 2021? Now, I know some of y'all know exactly what day it is today. And for those people, I hope that you have hired a designated driver for the day. You shall not be driving your car and celebrating 420 at the same time. Good morning, Bahamas. Now, let me say this. You are on the clock with Erin, Greene, and today's show is brought to you by the Department of Inland Revenue. If you can't listen on your radio, you could stream us live, audio and video, on GuardianTalkRadio.com, or you could listen in on TV on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and Flow Channel 612. Or you could download the Guardian Radio app for your Apple or Android smart devices. You like your iPhone? Well, you are not alone. And listen to our audio feed or watch us on our video feed right there on the Guardian Radio app. Or you can text us on the Guardian Radio text line. That's 422-4796. 422-4796. That's powered by BTC. Or you could call us at 323-6232, 325-4316, or 325-4259. Now, like I said, today is 420, so don't forget, today's show is brought to you by the Department of Inland Revenue, and they are reminding you to check out their real property tax forgiveness program. The program runs until the 31st of May, 2021. Do not slunk on this one. A wonderful opportunity to repair any financial issues you may have. Check it out. Not just for your sake, but for the sake of your estate and your legacy and the hopes that you can pass down a piece of property, a piece of the rock to your family. Arlington, play that music. I'm a revolutionary farmer. I just grow ideas. Some of those ideas look and taste like food. Some of y'all want to be a ganja farmer, right? Now, I kid. Some of y'all just want to smoke. Now, I'm not going to call it dope because that's not what it is, right? Some of y'all just want to smoke marijuana. Many of us just want to smoke marijuana. But guess what? None of us will be able to smoke marijuana until all of us get our collective act together. So I was ready to come into the studio this morning and talk a little bit about 420 and cannabis culture, just to start the show, because we talking ocean today, right? And as I was driving into the studio, now not me driving behind the wheel, you know, because for the sake of my stress levels, I reduce my driving time as much as possible. But I want to say good morning to the boy on the four-wheeler who was making third lanes up Shirley Street traffic. See, it's people like you going to be the reason why the rest of us can't have nice things. Mm-hmm. See, you and your little four-wheeler scooching through the traffic, making third lanes, you following that two-wheel bike. You following that motor scooterist who like to dash up through the third lane and then cut in front of your car at the light like he's a regular road user. And you figured if he could do it, you could do it too. But you forget you got four wheels. You don't have two wheels. It's almost as if you are unaware of the dimensions of your vehicle. Oh, yeah. See, there's that thing called spatial awareness. None of us will be able to smoke to engage in recreational marijuana use unless all of us begin to act like mature adults, whether we smoke or not, and practice things like spatial awareness. See, it's the boy on the four-wheeler that caused me to say this morning. And see, it ain't just the people on the road, you know. Y'all, when I talk about traffic management, y'all think cars. It's, oh, Erin, must she have a tiny car? She don't like getting bullied on the road. But see, first of all, you shouldn't be bullying anybody on the road. Exactly. We all share the road. We all use it. All of us, even the pedestrians. Even the crazy, let me rephrase that. I apologize for using such loose language. Even the people with mental and psychological issues who decide they're tired of being invisible and they're going to occupy the road while the cars are in it. Even them, right? We all use the road. We all have to share it. We all have to be responsible about how we use it.
Absolutely.
And that is why we're not going to have nice things, people. Also, who teeth all the detour signs? These by them at the Ministry of Works and BPL and all of these, and water and sewage, they working so hard trying to put out their tiny little cones, right, to protect their workmen and their property while they're working. But where are the detour signs? Who teeth them? Where are they? These people need these signs to do their work and for traffic to flow smoothly. Also, I want to ask, if I went to go and look for the work of Mr. Benjamin Ferguson Jr. in Grand Bahama that was unceremoniously removed or taken down or torn down without his knowledge or consent, would I find the detour signs there with the sign, with the artwork? Is that where y'all is hide things? And if I look deep, is the Oban file there too? Right?
Right.
So back to Mr. Benjamin Ferguson. Dear Bahamas, who deemed it necessary to take down this piece of artwork? I recall and reference some commentary I saw on Facebook this morning reminding us, right, that we so quick and happy to challenge the people who want to take down the statue of Columbus or D'Artagnan or whoever it is, who want to take down the statue of Queen Victoria. We so ready to challenge them, but we don't have anything to say to the people that took down this beautiful piece of artwork. Maybe I'm letting my little bias show, right? First of all, on the face of it, it is a beautiful piece of artwork.
Very, very beautiful.
When we get into the message, right? Like when we get into what it is possibly attempting to convey, listen, I think y'all would rather his critique of race and imperialism and colonialism and tourism in the Bahamas than my critique of race and colonialism and imperialism and tourism in the Bahamas. Y'all would have been happy with this lovely little image. So people like me will just walk by and say, oh, look at that, tourism and the white imagination. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go online and search Benjamin Ferguson Jr. It seems as if this digital piece is all we have left of this necessary and amazing critique on all things in the Bahamas. All things. And I could tell you that because I grew up a little girl. I had TV from I was like 5 years old. I know what that image is saying. That little girl in that picture is me.
Exactly.
I suck up all that white culture and all that Anglo culture, right? Just like that. Every day after school, in a neatly packaged juice box, right? Maybe in school, in a neatly packaged juice box too, if we could take the critique that far.
Exactly.
Right? We all don't want people like me to engage and ensure that y'all engage the critique, right? Let the artists do what they do. Let them capture, like Gilbert Morris say, let them capture the zeitgeist, the energy of the people.
And it's funny, right? Because Mr. Kamaher says that he thinks it's slightly racist. I didn't know there was anything as slightly racist,
Well,
right?
Yeah. Somebody say they think it's slightly racist. Right, but that
Yes,
was the
yes.
critique. The critique, oh, we got a comment on the Facebook feed.
No, this
Oh.
is Mr. Kendall Coma in the actual article.
Oh,
he
okay.
says, I know art is interpreted by the viewer, but it appears slightly racist.
No, see, sometimes we mix these things up. I'm thanking you for making that point.
Yeah.
Sometimes we confuse an attempt to highlight racism and how it operates
Exactly.
as racism itself.
Exactly.
But what we have happening is some people are still very uncomfortable with any discourse or discussion or artwork that interrogates race. It makes them so uncomfortable, right, that they get like frenetic and they have a visceral or automatic response and they say, oh, no, that's racism,
Yes.
right? But who can deny that the place called the Bahamas has been feeding off of the culture of Britain and America, the culture of the global north? I can't deny it, not old bougie, speak proper English Erin Greene.
There was a lot of commentary over the weekend about that correlation between America and the Bahamas, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, for me, it's deeper than America and the Bahamas. But for
yeah,
a certain
definitely.
age group, right, they don't know anything about Britain.
Yeah.
But what is very real for them is this thing called American culture. In fact, there's this boy named Dr. Keith Russell from Grand Bahama, who almost 10 years ago, he had this really interesting dialogue with Helen Clanaris,
Yeah.
human rights advocate, right,
Yeah.
around race. And Dr. Keith Russell framed this term called ontological whiteness, which is where you are so consumed by white systems, white cultures, white language, that you forget that you ain't white, right? Now, don't laugh, because that's me. That's Erin Greene gone to QC, right? Learn how to, that's real. Learn how to speak proper English, was told to practice saying coin and not kern, right? Foil and not furl.
Because it's proper.
Right, this is the experience of people like me and me,
yes.
right? So it's ontological whiteness. For many of us young Bahamians, though, it is an ontological Americanness,
Yes.
where we're so consumed by American culture and language and systems that we forget we're not American.
Right.
So you hear a lot of people, young people talking about the police and saying, oh, they ain't read me my rights. But you in the Bahamas, you ain't got those rights. That's a different system, right?
Yeah.
And now let me make this sort of last point before we close it off. For people who may feel in this moment that we are being racist by having this conversation, let me make this point. Race and ancestry, or like DNA, are two separate things.
Exactly.
Your ancestry is immutable. It never changes. It is what it is and will always be what it is. Race, though, is mutable. It changes and can change over time, geography, and culture, among other things, right? I think it's more helpful for us to talk about ancestry versus race. It's certainly helpful to make the distinction when needed that we're talking about race versus ancestry. And so let me give you an example. European people, a small group of European people, created the construct of race and whiteness to privilege themselves over other peoples. They were white and everything else was black. Then they associated goodness with white and badness with black, right?
Yes.
How does this work? Well, when we look at spirituality and spiritual practices, what we find is that many Europeans had indigenous spiritual practices, like Africans had indigenous spiritual practices. Both sets of spiritual indigenous practices were wiped out by whiteness. Both the European, and we see that in the witch hunts, right? Where we know that hundreds of thousands of women across Europe were killed and people accused of witchcraft, right? And so we see the distinction between race and ancestry. This construct called whiteness and race cared not about your ancestry. It destroyed both European indigenous spiritual practices and African indigenous spiritual practices.
Right.
So like Mr. Kendall Culmer made this, we referenced him to make this point, that interrogating race is not the same thing as being racist.
Exactly.
And to close out this little segment of the show, let me say this. Whoever tore down that piece of artwork should come together and sit and reflect on their feelings and the things that made them feel so uncomfortable that they had to tear down that artwork. And also ask themselves, in a country that is technically majority black, why would we take such a drastic action? And here's what the drastic part of it is. It's not necessarily the tearing it down part, the taking it down part, or the decision to take it down part. It's doing it in a way that suggested that you were trying to erase it and get rid of it.
Right.
And you didn't speak to the boy, and you didn't speak to us, and the majority of us. But see, that's just how you do this tourism thing too, right?
Exactly.
It's almost as if that's the most necessary piece of artwork in the country, because this boy is trying to show you how you are consumed, because you consume the white imagination. And here you are being not just directed to comfort the white imagination, but directed to center it in our experience in this country.
Right.
These are things we need to think about. Like I said, remember, there is a difference between race and ancestry. Not all European people identify as white. The same way not all African people identify as black. Anyway, Arlington, I see we got 2 calls here. Now, callers, you on the clock. You got 30 seconds.
Good morning, Miss Greene.
Good morning, Sparky. Look here. Why they call you Sparky? Why you call me on 420 and they call you Sparky?
You told me that I only have 30 seconds.
Yes, sir. Start it now.
Quickly, back in 1975, during the time when we started in our personal cars using a radio called Citizen Band Radio, or CBs, with everybody used to see with the little car phone inside the car with the aerials. I went to set mine up to a radio shop. He put mine in, and it didn't work because a lot of static, so I took it back to Kobe Carter. And he said the spark plugs was interfering, so he put some resistance on the spark plug. I said, now what I supposed to do? He said, well, you join the CB club, and you get yourself a handle. I said, what's a handle? He said, handle is a nickname. I said, but I don't have no nickname. Everybody called me Cheese Powder. He said, well, because of spark plugs, I'm going to name you Sparky. And it stuck.
All right.
It just stuck. From then, I went on the radio that night, and I had a Johnson Messenger, and it was so loud it covered the whole island and blocked out everybody. And I went on there and I said, breaker, 1-5, Sparky, break it and stand by. And everybody called me the next one and said, who the hell are you with this loud radio? And that Sparky stuck.
Man, Sparky, you know the whole nation needed to know that story. See, because people feel like you is the radio show, but they don't understand that you are part of a culture and experience greater than the radio show.
But I told you, we was on radio, we was on talk shows before radio talk show came in with Pistol Forbes and Steve McKinney.
Yes, sir.
Because what we used to do on the Citizen Band radio, we used to sit outside in our yards and in our car parking, in our car driveways, in our cars in the night, and we had something we call a round table, where we'll talk on our citizen radios, just like how we talking now, asking questions and complaining with the government this and the government that. We used to call it the round table. Every night we sit up there around 10, 11, and we had them talking sometimes 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Man, Sparky, everything makes sense now.
And that was before radio talk shows even started on ZNS.
Yes, sir.
And when Mr. Ingram bought a talk show, when we started, they used to call me and JT and them chronic callers.
Yeah, but they don't understand the vibe.
They used to say, why all those stay off the road? You got the same people calling over and over. But we were the only one that had the guts to call in to the talk show on Mendel Jones. And the same people who used to call us chronic callers like Jeff Lloyd and them ended up being talk show hosts.
And then even matriculating up higher than that. Look at that.
No, they saw that the talk show was a way where they could make side money too.
Well.
But they used to tell us, stay off the talk show.
Don't mind that. That's called politics, Sparky.
But what I was saying in regards to what you were saying, even in the little doggone island, which is one of the smallest islands in New Providence, I mean in Bahamas, what we call Nassau, but is actually named New Providence. All of us are bounded, the majority of the population in this little island, and you could tell, that if you, don't lie, now, we don't like talking this white and black thing in the Bahamas, but you could tell when a white Bahamian on the radio, or a black Bahamian. And you got white and blacks go to QC, St. Andrews, the bigger what we call private schools. Life and Key, they call them a special school. They even into Providence or the Bahamas. They behind the gate. They special.
I got
but if you listen to them talk on the radio, you could tell that person went to either QC, Kingsway, St. Andrews, or St. Anne's, because the teachers taught them to speak different. And you can also tell the difference when a white person like Graham or them come on the show that I never have to meet him. But he lived in the Bahamas and grew up in here, right in the New Providence. And I've been here 70 years, come May the 4th. He's been here long after me, and I can tell you, Graham Rutherford is a white man just by listening to him. And we grew up on the same island and sound different. Have a good day.
Thank you, Sparky. Look here. I can give you that little intervention because you share so much information with us just now. The thing's making sense. Caller, you got 30 seconds.
Hey, Erin, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
I didn't hear what you repeat. Oh, good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
Morning.
You were saying something what I got?
No. I was talking about Sparky.
Oh yeah, I hear the Sparky. It's all right. You know, Erin Greene, what is proper English?
Man, look here. Let's not get into that right now because I'm going to have Arlene Nash Ferguson on hopefully next week to talk about it.
I'm using that, not being funny.
But ain't no thing is proper English.
No, it's called standard English.
Right. In fact, it's only proper. You only determine it's proper depending on what situation you're in.
You know why it's standard English, Erin Greene?
Yeah, tell me.
Because our Constitution written in standard English, and we are English nation. We are an English nation.
I feel you.
And because Teresa Moxie did a wonderful job on language long time ago. I wish you could get a copy of that.
I'm going to go to JCN and try to get it.
She was a teacher.
Yeah.
And it's so beautifully done. And also our dialect is pure dialect. Anybody can speak our dialect.
That's right.
So we have standard English.
And Bahamian dialect.
But, you know, the private school and government school try to separate it. But they all speak standard English. We all speak standard English.
Yeah, but
at the same time, we all speak pure dialect.
You're right. Thank you very much.
Have a good day, my dear.
You too. It's important to know when to, what they call, code switch. Don't go to the dog trying to buy fruit with this QC accent, buddy. I can't hide it. I always get a little extra surcharge. I get to work a little harder to the trade to find balance. But it's okay because we trade off privileges in different ways, right? Yeah. People think this voice is always a privilege. It ain't always a privilege. See, I can't even get down with the 420 culture. You can imagine me going into the inner city and saying, could I have 2 weeds, please? Dear sir, make it quick and rapid. I need the 2 weeds and I need to leave as soon as possible. Right? It's just the privilege thing don't work. I see we got another caller. Caller, you got 30 seconds. I got to get to my guest. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning, Erin. Good morning to your guest.
How you
Erin.
doing? Yes, sir.
I always appreciate your sense of humor, and I like you to know that. You're very impressive to me, you know, as a person. So I just got a little joke here. You know, Sparky was correct. You know, white didn't snow along the bee, right? Right? White wing angels, white Jesus, white lie, white collar jaw, white sugar, right? Black cat, black book, black budget, black magic, black hand.
Black witch.
Hello?
Yeah, right here.
A white Croatian, short Franz Ferdinand, right, of Hungary, right? But they call it a black hand. And so we all live in these constructs. Charles Darwin wrote a book named The Origins of Species. But what they did was, in the revised editions, they removed its origin of species, preservation of favored races by means of natural selection. That's the part they removed. So this is why we don't really get a real true history. But through mosaic art and through art, we're able to construct these lies. We can just look at art and see the historical agenda against the black seed. Have a good day. Give thanks.
Thank you. Blessings, blessings. Okay, I'm going to read these texts, and then we have to introduce my guest. We got a wonderful conversation coming up. First text, morning, how are you? 2 straight. I am good, thank you. Look here, 2 straight, Ganeb tree in my neighborhood, bus with blossoms. I hope you all have a good 2 straight, too. Next text, my beloved show host, Miss Greene, Empress of the Chickchani Catchers. Thank you for the farmer song in honor of 420, which is today. Please play Taurus Riley, Allow the Trees. Thank you, Empress Erin. Well, you know, Earth Day is centered in this week, and so we're going to celebrate the earth and everything produced from it. Next test, Erin, who is painting the road markings. Much of the paint fades. Shortly after the work is done, take Nassau Street near Thompson Boulevard, for example. The paint started to peel off about 2 months after it was painted. Can we get our money back? I would also like our money back, but plenty of that already gone to people BPL bill. BPL ain't giving you the money back. Here's what we need to do. What we need to do is we need to ensure that the people responsible for giving out the contracts, not the people with the contracts, ensure that people have paint for this climate. It don't make sense you ordering paint that's supposed to be used on roads in Norway or in Great Britain down here in the tropics, and that may be our problem because you're right, they fade away and they're not getting painted back quickly enough. And why is this a problem? Because you know your people will pretend that the rules don't exist if they don't see the controls there. Exactly. They'll pretend like the stop sign ain't there because the sign is no longer there. They know that whether the sign is there or not, the control is there and they still have to obey it. But they like to pretend. So that's why it's important to get the paint back on the road. Good morning. The term marijuana originates from Mexican Spanish, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, but it was used by racist politicians who criminalized cannabis precisely because they wanted to underscore that it was a Latino, particularly Mexican vice. And that word, with all its implications, has become the most common name for cannabis in the U.S. today. You are not correct. The most common word for cannabis in the U.S. today is dope. These people love to call it dope because they like to maintain the connection between marijuana or weed or cannabis and heavier drugs like heroin. And heroin is the thing that they used to call dope, right? Let's stop calling it dope. It's not dope. Heroin is dope. Crack is dope, right? Let's begin to shift the culture by using the correct names. Let's stop. And for the older people who are sort of stuck in that culture, right? You got to shift with the times. Exactly. And here's what I mean. Both Britain and the Americas, by that I mean the United States of America, have liberalized. They're no longer treating it like dope. So stop treating your people like they are dope heads, because dope refers to heroin and crack and things like that. Another text, morning great show as usual. All them people who is drive like they ain't got no form of common sense on the road, they should not be allowed to smoke marijuana. And I also hope their stomach break down on them in traffic. They would learn to drive then. Dear texter, you can't be wishing things like that on people. And here's the second reason why. Because they're going to panic and they're probably going to crash. Let's not wish that on anybody. And that's probably why they're driving bad now. What is slightly racist?
What does that mean, right?
Yeah. What it means is that you are unintentionally or unknowingly or unconsciously perpetuating racist systems and white supremacist systems. That's sort of what it means, right? That's sort of, but in the context of that article, that was just an expression of internal discomfort with the discussion on race. You said we ain't Americans, that's blasphemous. To the highest order, we know more about Miami than people in Miami, Miss Greene. I bet you $10 you could tell me what on aisle 9 in Walmart. You could do that because we are Americans. What in the living, I can't say that word. I'm still uncomfortable saying that word. Is slightly racist. Okay. It's called cultural imperialism. You're absolutely right. Most of us know more about America than we know about the Bahamas. But that's because our largest source of content is American. But the reason why I wanted to talk about sort of the white imagination and whiteness, right, is because of my guest today. I've been waiting for a hot minute there. Arlington, you ready to bring her in? Her name is Nikita Shield Roll, and she is a phenomenal woman. She is an oceanpreneur, a conservation biologist, a hydroponic farmer, an estate agent, an advocate and activist, and most importantly, she's a superhero. See, her real name is Eagle Ray Empress. Nikita Shield Roll is just her government name. See, like me, my real name is Chickchani Ketcher. I only use Erin on passports and police records and when the judges call you and thing. That's when I use Erin Greene. That's the only time. This woman is a phenomenal woman. I brought her on today to discuss a project that is happening on World Earth Day and why it is so important for us to respect our environment. So I know I've been talking for a long time, but I'm going to just tell you all this little brief intro. When I was a little girl, my mother would take me and my sister to the beach every day after work. All my life, I liked to swim. I think my dad throwing me off a boat in the Exumas or the Berries was the beginning of my love affair with the water. I had formal lessons at Montague Beach Hotel and then on to QC, summers in Eleuthera and the Family Islands, and relatives that were kind enough to let screaming kids play all day in their pools in the summer. Today, I still love the ocean, the beach, the sea. The sand and the salt, not so much. But oh, to dip in the water on a hot summer day or spring day, because yesterday was summer squared. But back to when I was a children. My mother was always ready to teach a child how to swim, how to tread water, to not be afraid, to keep at it until they felt confident enough to wade out to their friends. And if you know me, you know I love the water. I love the beach, but I just wear shoes to the beach, and I don't take them off. Why? Well, two things. First, there are things in the ocean that do not belong there, like glass bottles and protection for sex and things like that. Y'all people nasty, man. And then there are things that belong in the water far more than I do, like sharks. So I need them shoes, just in case a shark trying to bite me. I need a little traction, so I could kick him and dip out. That's the Bahamian martial arts. Kick and dip out. But you see, I'm not into animal cruelty. I respect the ocean. That's the shark's home. That ain't my home. And now I respect it as much as I love it. It is my home. And that's why it's so important to have Nikita Shield Roll on with us this morning. Good morning, Nikita. How are you?
Good morning, Erin. I am wonderful. How are you? Good morning, Bahamas and all who are listening.
Good morning. So listen, let's start at the bottom. What is your message to Bahamians for Earth Day?
Ooh, okay. My message to Bahamians for Earth Day. Oh, my people, it's a new day for us. It's a new day. I want you to get excited. I want you to dive into the opportunities that the ocean has for us. Now is the time where we shift our way of being, that we step into new ways of living, working, and playing on these many islands that we call home, and also the ocean. And so my heartfelt message is to do everything that you can to take a minute to stop by the ocean, talk to Mama Ocean, put your feet in the water and connect to nature, because we are nature, and sometimes our busy lives just don't make it possible, or we feel like we're not able to take the time to do something kind for ourselves, because for many of us, the struggle is real. And so I want to just encourage you to give yourself that gift of afternoon by the beach or a moment looking out at the sea.
And what is your message from the Bahamas to the rest of the world for Earth Day?
Oh, that's a good question. To the rest of the world. Hello, my global family. It's so awesome to be connected with you. My message is that, we are going to learn how to live, work, and play together as a global community. We're going to learn about each other. We're going to learn how to be kinder, to be wiser with our investments, with how we're developing our world. And so I really am inviting the global community to get to know us as Bahamians, really get to know us and our stories, not just the ocean that they all come to see, and to be part of creating a more beautiful and equitable world together with us.
Absolutely. Okay, so World Earth Day is Thursday, April 22nd.
It is.
And on Thursday, UB, University of the Bahamas, is hosting the Small Island Sustainability Earth Day 2021 research program in collaboration with the Cat Island Conservation Institute. It is an Earth Day documentary screening and panel presentation, and there are 3 short films being screened called Antonice, second is called Bodies of Water, and the third is called Plastic Warriors. Can you tell us a bit about this event and about the films being featured?
Yes, I am so excited about this Earth Day. I think this is just an incredible and amazing time for us at the Cat Island Conservation Institute to be able to host this national event and this national premiere of these 2 documentaries, well, these 3 documentaries really, but 2 of them have just been released to the world last week. So they're still very hot off. Confoy, who Lovato Stubbs is the producer of these 3 documentaries, and an incredibly talented Bahamian.
1 second. Lovato Stubbs, right?
Yes.
Right.
Confoy. Okay. Yeah.
What's the name? The second name?
Confoy. Confoy Films is his company, but his name, his superhero name is Confoy.
That's right. Okay.
And yeah, so this is how we do. But it's going to be incredible. These documentaries, I'm an ocean lover. I have been for my entire life. And I think so often when we are told the story of the ocean, we're told it from the perspective of the animals. And in the creation of at least these first 2 documentaries, Bodies of Water and Antonice, I really wanted to tell our stories from the perspective of the people who are the guardians of our ocean nation. And so this is what these 2 original documentaries do. The first one, Bodies of Water, really sets the stage of where we are as an ocean nation and the complex history that we come from, and then also sets the stage for this new horizon, this new future of ocean exploration, of ocean science, of new economic models being driven from what the ocean has to offer. And so that's an incredible piece that you definitely want to see. And I think there's going to be a fantastic national conversation that's going to unfold from that. And then the second piece is really near and dear to me. And this tells the story of my beautiful community here in Cat Island. And it follows Antonice, who is an incredible Cat Islander. And it follows her first encounter really snorkeling in deep water, first encounter snorkeling, and sort of how that has transformed the way that she sees herself and she sees her role as a Bahamian and as an ocean guardian. So I'm not going to say too much about that because I really believe that people should watch that piece because it gives me all the feels every time I watch it.
Let me tell the audience how great these pieces are. Nikita really she demanded that I watch the pieces before I sat down and constructed my questions for today's show. And I watched them, and then I had to tell her, I can't construct a question because there's so much in the pieces, and I'm biased. And I don't want to lead the conversation in my direction, right? I just need y'all to know. I'm going to share the links. We're going to share the links so that you can tune in and watch the documentary, one now and possibly one when it's uploaded after the event, right?
Well, so there, 2 of them are on Antonice and Bodies of Water are on the Cat Island Conservation Institute website. So if you go to CICIBahamas.org, those 2 are already on our homepage there. The third documentary is Plastic Warriors, which features the incredible Crystal Ocean, also known as Crystal Ambrose. That's the government name. And it tells a beautiful story of her work combating plastic pollution with incredible youth from Eleuthera. So that will also be shown at this UB Earth Day event that we have going on, and then we're going to have a fantastic conversation. So please come and join us. Definitely come and join us for this conversation. We are bringing everyone from all walks of life to be part of this conversation. You know, this is, like I said, this is the beginning of a new day. This is a chance for us to be intentional about imagining what our future looks like and then go out and co-create it together.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So listen, I got a quick question for you. At the first Future of Democracy conference hosted at UB, right? I was on this panel and I followed this panelist who was talking about the blue economy. Little did he know that I wasn't sure if I had prepared my presentation. So I, as a true Bahamian, I piggyback off of what he said. And I was talking about imagination and audacity, right? As two tools in the revolutionaries' toolkit. And that's why I sort of made the link today between that artwork and the discussion around the artwork and the discussion around the ocean. And I asked the question, imagine, what would your country, your economy, your tourism product, your life, what would they all look like if we focused on boat ownership? With the same intensity we focus on car ownership. And so I want to ask you that same question.
Well, I mean, everyone would have access to the ocean. That's, you know, I think that's the big thing for us as Bahamians, is that many of us don't have access to the ocean. And this is where I think the big divide comes, because the ocean's an expensive place to play. And it's also a scary place to play if you are not properly equipped. So, oh my goodness, I would love to see a Bahamas where everyone had boats. I think that would be incredible. It would transform the way that we see ourselves and the way that we get to explore our country. That is, I think, one of the most exciting things that the ocean has to offer, is that our country is primarily ocean. You know, we're like 95% ocean. Mm-hmm. So there's so much that we have. There's so much incredible just joy and pleasure and opportunity that exists beneath our waters. We literally just need to learn how to dive in. And that's what these documentaries show. And that's what we're talking about at this Earth Day event, is how do we get excited? How do we use that imagination to imagine, you know, like I'm exploring the idea of what would a community biodiversity genetics laboratory on Cat Island look like? You know, what would it look like if we had a 200-foot research vessel that was also serving maybe as a luxury tourist experience and a fishing, you know, boat as well? Mm-hmm. You know, like we now get to imagine, and this is what these documentaries are all about. It's how do we spark the imagination? But then also, what's so cool is the Bahamas Development Bank has a blue economy think tank coming up. And this is going to be an incredible event at the end of this month that we want everyone to come to, because we are going to all learn together about what is possible and, you know, use that as an incubator, if you will, for new potential, like but career paths or passion projects as it relates to the ocean and our livelihoods. Mm-hmm. So definitely the 28th, Erin, I'll share those details with you as well. You want to make sure to join us, because it's going to be so much fun. And there's grants available for people who attend. There's granting opportunities, and the bank also has dynamic financing options as well. So I think it's an exciting time for us as Bahamians. I think what we have to do, Erin, is we have to be intentional. There's a lot of challenges that we have, but we have to find the opportunity in those challenges and use them for the benefit of all of us.
Absolutely, because look here, talking about imagination, and for this conversation, you know, I'm thinking if we had focused on boat ownership the same way we focused on car ownership, then you would see different policies around ocean use coming up, right? You would see different policies around family island development coming up, because our relationship with these islands would be different, because access to them, like you said, would be more affordable. When I think of imagination in another way, because we're sort of having what seems like three different conversations at one time. One about 420 Day and hemp and cannabis, and another conversation about tourism in the white imagination, or the culture in the white imagination, and this conversation about the ocean. And I'm sitting here thinking, we got the third largest boat registry in the world. We got thousands of boats running through our country, per year from cruise ships and barges and container freighters to pleasure cruises and massive yachts and the lifestyle of the rich and famous, right? To sloops with migrants running through, to small boats running things, right? All of this. But we don't have no local boat rope industry. We can grow hemp. We got all the boats coming here. Why haven't we, right? Because the imagination that drives our thinking around the ocean has limited us to thinking that the primary benefit of this place is to serve tourists, right? So the ocean is for tourists.
This is why, Erin, we got to change this conversation. Yeah, that's what we used to do. That's how, and a lot of people are still stuck in that paradigm. And this is why we're having this epic event at the University of the Bahamas on Thursday, because we want to get people excited about what's possible. And what's so cool about the ocean is that it creates opportunities, like these documentaries. A complete dynamic Bahamian team of filmmakers and sound techs and all, like cinematographers put this piece together, and it's telling the story about the ocean. And I think this is really where the arts come in. And so this is why, yes, we need to imagine, but we need to help people imagine. And I always reference a good friend of mine who's a fisherman here on the island, because I was trying to facilitate an imagining session maybe 2 years ago with some fishermen about what would the ideal ocean ecosystem, ocean economy look like? And he was just so real. He was like, when all you can see is darkness, you can't even imagine a light. Mm-hmm. And that's when I really realized my ability to imagine was a privilege. Yeah. Right? Because I was not dealing with the grind in the way that a lot of other people were. Mm-hmm. And, Sparky, I was listening before I joined on, I'm one of those Bahamians who went to one of those schools. I went to Lifer Key School, and then I went to boarding school. So absolutely, there are differences. There are realities that we have to acknowledge lovingly. And I think this is why these two documentaries are really powerful, because it tells a story of how do we meet Bahamians where they are. No shame, no guilt, no blame. It's just like, we're in this together. Let's move forward together and let's have a lot of fun in the process.
And I would say, if you have the privilege to imagine, if you have the privilege to create a space where you can imagine beyond what is in front of you, you also have an obligation to imagine collectively, right? To imagine for those that cannot afford to do it because they just busy trying to pay that BPL bill.
Yeah. And this is where, I often talk about the paradigm shift in how we educate people. I like to say, I think education historically in the Bahamas has prepared Bahamians to be of service to people living, working, and playing in the Bahamas. And with the work that we're doing with the Cat Island Conservation Institute, it's really about how do we prepare Bahamians so we are the ones that get to live, work, and play in our country. And working may very well be, being of service through the tourism industry to others. But there's a difference in how, when we're service to ourselves first, and that gives us the ability to then, abundantly serve others, or when we are the silent service.
Absolutely.
Right? There's a difference.
Absolutely. So, okay, I have another question for you. I don't want to cloud the discussion with my particular, I don't want to say biases, but my particular perspective, right? So there's a more general question. Do you think we should make the entire country, that includes the territorial waters, because that's ours too, a national park, and charge an environmental fee on entry and departure in case of a catastrophic event, or for a catastrophic event fund?
Mm-hmm. I feel like you're probably having some people having their hearts are racing right now with this conversation. And so this is where I think the conversation needs to go to, there's the model of national parks that we're all used to and that we know, that the Bahamas National Trust have been the stewards of, working to protect our marine protected areas, both terrestrial and marine. And I think there's an opportunity for us to imagine another way of being guardians of our ocean nation. And so I'm not going to say yes to that question and how it's being asked, because I think we're limiting ourselves, and we're limited with our understanding of what is possible. So what I think needs to do, what needs to happen, and so I lived in the Galapagos for some time. The Galapagos is a chain of an archipelago in the Pacific Ocean that's part of Ecuador. Incredible country, very similar in some ways to us, except they're volcanic. And what I really learned there, they have they charge an entrance. I think at the time it was $100 per person just to get there. Uh-huh. So I think that there are models of how we can manage our resources and how we can invest greater in our people. And I think these are avenues that we need to explore what exists. And also, I think we get to be creative and find something that really works for us. At the end of the day, there has to be significant investment in our human capacity so that we can even enjoy the ocean. You know, like, because even if everyone, going back to the original question, even if everyone had a boat, right now, people, so a lot of people don't know how to swim, and that could be, so like there's steps in this process. And I think what's cool is that we get to walk through it together. And also, let's remember, there's only maybe 400,000 of us. That's not a lot of people. The population of the Miami-Dade public school system and the population of the Bahamas has a difference of maybe 20 to 30,000 people.
Wow.
Perspective, right? Yeah. We can create flourishing, thriving lives for Bahamians while welcoming the rich and famous to our island, and as well as everyone else to our shores.
Absolutely. Now, Nikita, I'm going to have you back soon, probably as it gets hotter and more young people are heading to the beach, so we could dispel these myths and this discomfort around the ocean and our access to it. I'm all out of time. Just give us the contact information for the Cat Island Conservation Institute again, and the contact information for the Young Marine Explorers that you found.
Absolutely. You can find information about the UB event at www.cicibahamas.org. You can find us on social media at CICI Bahamas or at YME242. You can also find me on social media at Cat Island Kita. That's KITA.
Nice. Thank you very much. Darwin, last word?
No, it's all good on me. Thank you.
So look here. It is 4:20. Y'all be safe out there. Stop breaking the law. Stop riding dirty. Stop not practicing spatial awareness and introducing or allowing your children to be introduced to your own vices. Let us be mature today. Let us be responsible today. Let us love each other today. And let us use our imaginations and imagine a world beyond anything we ever thought possible, if not for our own sake, for the sake of the future generations of Bahamians. It ain't about us anymore. It's about the world we create for those who are coming forward. Anyway, Nikita, thank you very much. To my texters, one last text. The texter said, I have a message for Bahamians on Earth Day. Stop littering because you're nasty. Please, stop littering. If you're having issues with trash, it's still your responsibility. Work on a plan. You can't just drop the waste on the road. Even if you're homeless, we got to have a plan. All of us together. Yes, Nikita?
Erin,
Quick.
Quickly about that. We are hosting a beach cleanup and marine debris survey on Saturday, the 24th.
Countrywide?
This is in New Providence. The Cat Island Conservation Institute, in partnership with Lashanti the Siren and Kerwin Mulling and Sustainable Life. We have a great Earth Day event happening in New Providence. So I will make sure that you get the information for that.
Right.
So people in Nassau, just following up on that last texter, that's right, stop littering, and then be part of helping us to understand what are the challenges. Why are people littering? How do we create solutions so that's no longer a problem?
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much. Bahamas, have a wonderful, wonderful day. And the last thing I have to say is, lift the prohibition. It's the only sensible way forward. Have a great day, Bahamas.
a ganja planter. Call me the ganja farmer. Deep down in the earth, me put the ganja. Babylon come a light it at a fire, me a chant.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.